this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. Just like that, folks, we're at the start of summer for Memorial Day weekend. That means the greatest day in motorsports. The day starts with the famous Monaco Grand Prix for Formula One, then next to the Indy 500, then NASCAR's nightcap, the longest race of the year, the Coca-Cola 600. In this episode, we dive deep into the favorites and the underdogs for each race, and the history as well. Storylines for Formula One: can McLaren continue their dominance, or can another team strike? IndyCar: after several crashes in practice, who will be willing to put it all on the line? And big drama coming out of Team Penske on the IndyCar side. All eyes will be on Kyle Larson as he again attempts the Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600 doubleheader. F1 expert Elliot Williams joins the show to break down Monaco. Plus, we have insight for the Indy 500, Fast Davey's bets, predictions for each race, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He'll be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. First segment is for Formula One, looking at Monaco. We bring on Formula One expert and my good buddy, Elliot Williams. Elliot and I used to live with each other, and he'd be trying to get me to watch F1 early on Sunday mornings, and I'd be doing the same on Sunday afternoons with NASCAR. Really appreciate you joining the show, Elliot. Before we get into what drivers to be on the lookout for, NASCAR has the Daytona 500, IndyCar has the Indianapolis 500. What does Monaco mean to a big F1 fan?
Yep. I mean, it all sounds very exciting. I mean, I remember when I was living with David, I always tried to get David to watch a lot of the Formula One that was coming on in America. It's on extremely early. I'm a native Brit, so I'm back home now, and it's a lot more palatable for me. I need to get into some NASCAR, though. David, you tell me which races outside of Daytona that I need to watch.
Exactly. I'd give you a list for that for sure. Looking at Monaco, such a historic track. Any Monacos from back in the day when you were younger that you can recount on?
Yeah. So Monaco's like a real heritage track. So from my understanding, since the inception of Formula One, I think in like the 50s, Formula One has always been a feature race. And it has this heritage status in which they'll never get rid of Monaco. So there's been a lot of competition for a lot of other tracks, because the calendar is becoming increasingly, enticing for a lot of investors and a lot of people who want to be a part of Formula One. So a lot of tracks are leaving, even some potentially like Spa, which again I would call a heritage track. But Monaco is a steadfast and an anchor in Formula One. And I think it's a really divisive and polarizing circuit. Some people really like Monaco because of the spectacle that it comes with. And there are some people which hate Monaco simply because of the track layout. Old and daily roads don't fare well, especially on a street circuit for good racing. So a lot of people have some mixed opinions about it.
Got it. That makes sense with how tight a lot of the turns are. Before we were recording, we were talking about this F1 season so far. You were saying that McLaren has really dominated.
Yeah, McLaren definitely made a resurgence. They showed a lot of their form towards the past the midway point of last year, and then this year they've really carried it on. I think it's fair to say that they have the fastest car at the moment, with maybe Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari following in that order. But there's definitely a good advantage both in qualifying and on race pace as well. I think they also, it's fair to say, they have advantages in the tyre degradation as well. So the tyre wear that they're experiencing is actually really minimal compared to their competitors, which again helps with the race pace.
Wow, that That's I didn't realize that the specific car can affect the tire wear. Don't really see that too much on the NASCAR circuit. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I think because with NASCAR, I could be wrong, but I believe there's a little bit more of a stock element to it.
Yeah.
So there's less tune. It's more about tuning and less about actual creating the car from 0 to 1. Whereas in Formula One, for those that don't know, there is kind of like a spec which is given to each of the teams, and they create their car within that spec. And as a result, there's a lot of interesting interpretations. They tend to converge on similar designs, but intricacies such as the tyre wear that lead from those designs, there is some spread. So, yeah, it makes for good racing, especially when pit stops are involved and you have to change tyres.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate you going over that, Elliot. Drivers to look out for Monaco this year, favorites, underdogs, anyone that you're looking out specifically for?
I would say with the McLarens being so strong, they're two great drivers such as Norris and Piastri. Monaco is definitely one of those circuits where familiarity helps. There's a lot of little bumps and caveats that if you're an experienced driver, you probably haven't encountered before because it's not on typical circuits or typical calendars for racing. I would say, in short, drivers to look out for are Norris, Piastri, Verstappen, and Alonso. Surprisingly, Alonso has always had pretty good qualifying in Monaco, and qualifying is key with Monaco since it's such a hard circuit to overtake on. So those are the drivers that I would say to look out for. Who I think would get pole, I think Norris might do it.
Okay.
I think Norris might get pole position.
Cool. Before we get into your prediction, as someone who doesn't typically watch F1 as frequently as you do, obviously, what should people watch it for? Qualifying and during the race. Anything specific? Yeah, so with Monaco, I think, as I said, it's very hard to overtake. So the order that you see in qualifying, it won't be too different, probably finishing or come to the conclusion of the race. I'd say things to look out for in qualifying, probably the drivers that are come Q3 that are really seem like they're at home with the car. Those are the ones that are probably going to do well. If you hear drivers on the radio complaining about the brakes or this, that, and the other, it's typically indicative of a driver that isn't going to qualify well. You need to be really in tune with the car for a circuit like Monaco. Okay, cool. Thank you for breaking that down. And then, last but not least, who is your prediction to win?
Prediction to win? I think Piastri's going to do it. He's going to have a good run of form, and he's really coming into his own this season, so I could see him winning it. Okay,
cool. Really appreciate the time, Elliot, and the insight, and you breaking down those things that a regular NASCAR fan doesn't see. So really appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you soon.
100%. Thanks for having me on, David.
Yeah, of course. Super appreciative for Elliot joining the show and sharing his insight into Monaco and F1. Now for trivia time. This episode we have 2 questions. The first, what F1 driver has the most Monaco victories? Second question, who won the first Indianapolis 500? Answers at the end. Now for the Indy 500 preview for the IndyCar series. After the action in Monaco, Motorsports fans will switch their eyes to the Indianapolis 500, which is held annually on Memorial Day weekend. 33 of IndyCar's best drivers will compete at the legendary track, all chasing one of the most prestigious victories in motorsports. Whether you're a devoted IndyCar fan or just a casual observer like myself for the Indy 500, this spectacle draws fans young and old to watch. And we wait to see who will drink the milk and kiss the bricks. Joseph Newgarden is a back-to-back Indy 500 champ, winning in 2023 and 2024. He is the 6th person to do that, and he's attempting to become the first ever driver to win 3 consecutive Indy 500s. Now we look at the Indianapolis 500 milk tradition. One of the most distinctive traditions in motorsports takes place at the Indy 500 when the winner drinks a bottle of ice-cold milk in victory lane. There's some debate when this tradition started. In 1933, Louis Meyer, after claiming his second Indy 500 win, reportedly drank milk, but there is no visual proof of it. However, in 1936, after becoming the race's first three-time winner, Meyer famously raised 3 fingers with one hand while holding a bottle of buttermilk in the other. He took a drink, and the moment of this is captured on film, solidifying the start of the now iconic tradition. Indianapolis Motor Speedway says the tradition of drinking milk gained even more momentum after a dairy industry executive saw the footage of Meyer celebrating with the buttermilk and took the opportunity. Milk was offered to Indy 500 winners from 1938 to 1941, and then again when the race resumed in 1946 following the World War II hiatus. In the years following, some encouragement was needed. 1956 winner Pat Flaherty reportedly was paid $400 to drink the milk. However, it is cherished and an iconic part of the celebration. Winners now proudly drink from the bottle and often pour the remainder over their heads in a happy display of victory. The qualifying for the Indy 500 has already occurred last weekend, and rookie magic strikes. The dream became a reality for Robert Schwartzman and Prema Racing as the rookie in his first ever race on an oval takes the pole award for the 109th Indy 500. Schwartzman from Tel Aviv, Israel, became the first rookie driver to win the pole since Teo Fabi in 1983. Schwartzman is just the third rookie to win the pole in the greatest spectacle in racing. Two-time Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato and Pato O'Rourke will join Schwartzman on the front row for Sunday's race. Now for the big storyline for the Indy 500 already. I thought I would never see this together. Cheating scandal at the Indy 500, Team Penske. Roger Penske has just closed, or at least tried to close, the latest cheating scandal engulfing his team, Team Penske, at his beloved Indianapolis 500, which a track he owns. By firing his top 3 executives at Team Penske after 2 of the Team Penske Indy cars were found to be illegal. Penske fired team president Tim Cindric, IndyCar managing director Ron Ruzinski, and IndyCar general manager Kyle Moore on Wednesday in the wake of the scandal. Roger Penske went on to say, "Nothing more is important than the integrity of our sport and our race teams. We have had organizational failures during the last 2 years, and we had to make necessary changes. I apologize to our fans, our partners, and our organization for letting them down." Wow. Penske is the owner of a 3 IndyCar team, and, as we mentioned, the owner of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Team Penske IndyCar teams have won the Indy 500 20 times. The firings and Penske's statement have been the first public reaction since the 2-time defending Indy 500 winner Joseph Newgarden and teammate Will Power were found to have illegally modified spec parts on their cars ahead of Sunday's final round of qualifying. I'm no IndyCar expert by far, but hearing the ripple effects and seeing the firings that came, Tim Cindric, the team president, gone from Team Penske, something was wrong, Roger fixed it, but I'm just shocked by this, really surprised. Wanted to go over Indy 500 winner and the team principal of Arrow McLaren, Tony Kanaan. Kanaan goes on to say, "What he did in firing those 3 people is a big deal. I think everyone recognized how big a deal of it is to Roger, and now it's just a question of how to move on and how to make sure Tech doesn't miss these things again." Think Kanaan says a lot in that statement. Now we move on to the drivers to look out for the Indy 500. Kyle Larson will be attempting both races, Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600. He was in the Indy 500 last year. If Larson can stay mistake-free, he could have a chance to contend. Newgarden has won the last two, but as mentioned with the Team Penske cheating scandals, how fast is his car really going to be? I'm not sure. Takuma Sato, he's always going to be in the mix, as we know. Rookie Robert Schwartzman, who was on the pole, was obviously quick in that qualifying. But will he have enough and have the smarts to keep up with some of the Indy 500 veterans? Of course, we look at the top. Scott Dixon, going to have a chance. Alex Palou. The favorite right now is Pato O'Ward. He hasn't won, but he has his victories in IndyCar for sure. Can he get his first Indianapolis 500? We'll see what Sunday holds for Pato and the rest of the field. Now, for racing history, Tony Stewart, the double, 2001. With Kyle Larson set to attempt the Indy 500 Coca-Cola 600 double, we look back on Tony Stewart's historic double duty runs in 99 and in 01. In 01, Stewart became the first and so far only driver to finish on the lead lap of both races that same day. 01, Stewart piloted one of Chip Ganassi's open-wheel cars to a 6th place finish, led a lap at Indy, and then followed it with a 3rd place finish at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coke 600 in the Joe Gibbs 20 car. To this day, Stewart remains the only driver to finish, as mentioned, on the lead lap and run all 1,100 miles. With Stewart's double-duty accomplishments have withstood the test of time, he remembers them at the beginning. It was very different in 1999, as Stewart did not properly train for the double, and he paid a steep price physically. Stewart went on to say, "The first year, it was terrible. It was a terrible experience. I had no idea what nutrition was. I'm not a workout guy. I'm not a nutrition guy. And I realized very, very quickly that day, and I learned at the end of the 500 that I still had a long day ahead of me." After going through that rough time at the double in 99, Stewart came very prepared in 01. He didn't have much of a choice, though, as his NASCAR team owner, Joe Gibbs, told Smoke that he would have to do serious physical preparation the next go-around, which would pay off for Tony in the long run. Such a historic feat. Can Larson top it? Now, discussions with Dave. On that same topic, Kyle Larson doing the double. For the second year in a row, Kyle Larson will attempt the infamous double duty and try to go 1,100 miles in one day. Last year, Mother Nature did not let that happen. Hopefully, with better weather in the forecast, does Kyle Larson have what it takes this year to best Stewart's finishes? I do believe Larson will have a fighting chance. As we just went over, staying in shape and eating right are key. I don't think Kyle will run into those issues. Tony Stewart, going into 2001, did have much more IndyCar seat time compared to Larson. Does seem like Larson has learned a lot from last year, plus his crashes in the Indy practice and qualifying the last couple weeks, which hopefully is helping him find the fine line he needs to race on. The only thing that scares me, it took Kyle Larson years to perfect him riding the wall, which from Miami this year, we know he's done that. I do think for Larson, for him to break the top 5, he will need to be as close to perfect as he can with no mistakes, but that's the whole point of the race. Honestly, expect Kyle to finish 15th to 10th, maybe 8th or 9th if he's lucky. I hope I'm wrong and he breaks Tony Stewart's record, but that's how I'm feeling. If Kyle gets a 6th place finish or better in Indy, he can make it happen and think he will be a contender in Charlotte. Next topic on discussions with Dave, Rain, rain, go away, and don't affect Indy this day. As we were just talking, Kyle Larson attempted the Indy and Coca-Cola 600 doubleheader due to the Indy 500 getting pushed back a little bit from rain. That same rain followed Larson and ended up cutting short the Coca-Cola 600. Justin Allgaier started in Larson's car last year, and Larson, with the rain-shortened race, didn't even get in the Cup car Sunday night. Hopefully, we have better weather, and it does not affect either race, and we can see if Larson can run every lap. Hoping he does. Discussions with Dave. Rain plan for Kyle Larson at Indy and Charlotte. Last year, we knew what the plan was. Larson stayed in Indy, and as Mr. Hendrick said, that was always the plan. NASCAR did grant Larson a playoff waiver. As we've mentioned at the end of last season, NASCAR has tweaked that waiver program, and the plan for this year is different. If the Indy 500 gets delayed for any reason, Tony Kanaan is supposed to be the backup driver to run the rest of that race. Larson will be in the Cup car for the Coca-Cola 600. Mr. Hendrick has made that pretty clear. Final topic on discussions with Dave for this episode. Coca-Cola 600 can be anyone's race. Before we get into that, the meaning of Memorial Day weekend is to honor the fallen service members who have sacrificed it all for our great country. NASCAR, I think, does a great job in honoring those fallen service members throughout the weekend and, of course, throughout every mile and lap of the Coca-Cola 600. With such a long race and with so many laps, you can start at the back of the pack. You can be at the back of the pack to start the final stage and still make your way and have the time to get your way to the front. Always exciting. It's a long day watching a lot of turns, a lot of lefts with Indy and the Coca-Cola 600, obviously being on ovals, but it's all worth it as a race fan. And that wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now, our second segment for NASCAR history time, more famous 600s. A finish for the ages, 2005. The 05 600 delivered one of the most heart-stopping finishes in history, as seven-time NASCAR Cup Series champ Jimmy Johnson edged out Bobby Labonte by a mere 0.027 seconds, proving anything can happen truly after 600 miles at Charlotte. Johnson himself will be in the Cup car this weekend and will make his 700th start at the Cup Series level. Moving to 2008, Kasey Kahne sweep. In a twisting end, Tony Stewart looked poised for victory until a late race tire failure with 2 laps to go handed the win to Kasey Kahne. The Triumph completed a rare Charlotte sweep for Kahne, who also won the 08 All-Star race just 1 week prior. 2017, return of the number 3. Austin Dillon's fuel-saving strategy in the 2017 600 led for his first Cup Series win and return for the iconic number 3 car to victory lane, marking an historic moment for Richard Childress Racing and, of course, the sport. The last race we'll touch, 2018. Busch completes the set. Kyle Busch dominated from green to checkered in 2018, leading 378 laps, making history by becoming the first driver to win a Cup Series race at every active NASCAR track. The win capped a perfect weekend for Joe Gibbs Racing driver, who captured the pole and swept all 4 stages that 600. Now, for the drivers to look out for this year's Coca-Cola 600. The Coke 600 from Charlotte is the longest race of the year. After last year's rain-shortened event, drivers are hoping to duke it out for every lap. We start with Kyle Larson. As we mentioned, Kyle will be in the Cup car for the 600. Even if the Indy 500 doesn't go his way, will Kyle have the juice left in the tank to compete for a win? Ryan Blaney won this race in 2023. Could he make it his first win of this season? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 7th in 22 and 7th in 23. He's 14th in the points after Kansas. Ricky has shown he can be consistent this year. Can he contend? The Toyotas to look out for are Hamlin. He won in 22. And Christopher Bell, who won the rain-shortened race last year. Plus, don't count out 2311 driver Tyler Reddick, who's had a 6th, 5th, and 4th place finishes the last 3 600s. Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski are 2 crafty veterans, also ready to strike. Now, for Fast Davey's bets. Monaco F1. Charles Leclerc for a top 2 is plus 300. Indy 500, the pole winner, Robert Schwartzman, is plus 300 for a top 3. He's a rookie, but hey, why not? And Coca-Cola 600, Zane Smith for a top 5 is my Fast Davies bets. Now for our predictions. Elliot gave our prediction for F1. Indy 500, I know he's the favorite, but give me Pato O'Rourke to get his first Indy 500 win. Coke 600, Tyler Reddick, believe he can win the war of attrition. Now for trivia answer time. As mentioned, we had 2 questions on this episode. The first, what F1 driver has won the most races at Monaco? And second, who won the first Indianapolis 500? Answers are, Ayrton Senna holds the record for most victories in Monaco with 6, including 5 consecutive wins from 89 to 93, as well as 8 podium finishes in 10 starts. His 1987 win was the first time a car with an active suspension won a Grand Prix. Ray Harone won the first Indy 500 in 1911, driving a Marmon Wasp. Harone finished with an average speed of 74.6 miles per hour. If you do the math, boy, that's a long race. Hope everyone has enjoyed both episodes this week. There will be so much action, not just on the NASCAR side from Charlotte with ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, and of course Cup, but as we mentioned, F1's race at Monaco, and of course the Indy 500. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you also follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for on-track and midweek updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Everyone, please have a safe and wonderful Memorial Day weekend with their friends and family. Till next time, everyone. Splash of Gas out.